Ooh, suddenly soundtracks are here to provide you. Suddenly soundtracks will show you care. Oh, be more the soundtrack inside you with sweet understanding. Oh, with sweet understanding. With sweet understanding. Soundtracks are your friend. Hey guys, welcome to yet another episode of Suddenly Soundtracks, the show here on Take 3 Productions where we go through a movie musical, song by song, and judge a movie solely based on the soundtrack that it provides. I am joined by two very, very good friends of mine and frequent guests here on the channel. Mr. Robert Parker, how are you doing today, and what are your thoughts, and when did you first see Newsies?
Yeah, so I'm doing great. I'm very, very, very happy to be back on Suddenly Soundtracks. It's definitely one of my favorite things that I've ever done for Take 3, so I'm glad to be back. For Newsies, I mean, the first time I saw it, I was probably early middle school, maybe. I've had the opportunity to see the stage show a few times, but the movie itself also holds a special place in my heart. We watched it, I think, in a class in middle school, and I love the music and I love the movie.
Cool. And we are also joined by from All the Belt podcast, the Schmodown podcast. I know you all listen to Miss Alia Moore. How you doing, Leah? Are you pumped or what?
I'm so pumped, Chris Clark. I love this musical. I also started listening to it, or I watched it, I guess, really early on. My best friend and I, growing up in like elementary school, just were super into it. Had a big crush on Spot, and so really liked it. Also, I had a shirt made back in the days of when there was a place you could go to get t-shirts made, but like the only options were letters and like they had like 3 different font choices, so like the only like different options were 3 different fonts, and like you could get different sizes. And this might be a little foreshadowing for things that are going to come later in the episode, but I went and made my own shirt that said "Our Man Denton" on it. So I was pretty hardcore.
You were hardcore indeed, and they don't make t-shirt places like that anymore since they've all been like replaced by like Custom Ink and TeePublic and stuff. They're a missing commodity nowadays. We're from another generation. Anyway, guys, we are gonna go straight into 1992's Disney musical Newsies.
I tell the city how to think. I tell the city how to vote. I shape its future.
Publisher Joseph Pulitzer ran New York City.
There's lots of money down there in those streets, gentlemen. I want to know how I can get more of it.
Newsboy Jack Kelly was running from his past.
You were in jail?
Well, I was starving, so I stole some food.
He had nothing until Pulitzer's greed
Charge the Newsies more for their papers.
They can't get away with this.
gave him something to fight for.
Are we just gonna take what they give us? Or are we gonna strike?
Walt Disney Pictures presents
Well, listen me on the world, but he don't know.
an all-new musical event featuring 7 new songs from the Academy Award-winning composer of The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast.
You're going up against the most powerful man in New York City.
You have to fight them.
I want an example made to those who would dare to lead.
If we don't act together, then we're none. We don't stick together, we're none.
I'll break you, boy.
So what's it gonna be?
In 1899, he challenged the power of the press and discovered the power of the people.
Sometimes all it takes is a voice.
Strike!
It becomes 100. And then 1,000.
Christian Bale and Robert Duvall Newsies.
So, Robert, Alia, we are going to go right into this movie with the opening number, Carrying the Banner.
Lead a fine life, carrying the banner through it all. A mighty fine life, carrying the banner up and tall.
Now, Carrying the Banner, I have a few issues with. I know that you two probably love this song to death, and my favorite musical, Little Shop of Horrors, is written by the same person, Alan Menken. And this opening in particular is very, very underwhelming. It does introduce you, though, to the world of the Newsies and who the Newsies are and what they act like and their chemistry together. So it does build them up and is good for the movie itself. As a song, I think it's actually very, very forgettable for an opening piece. I'm going to throw it to you, Robert. Why am I wrong?
Yeah. So I disagree with you some there. I think that this is a great opening number. Not only, like you were saying, does it introduce you to all of the chemistry of the Newsies and just the world building that the song does for the movie, but as the song itself, I also really like how quick and up paced it is, how it's overlaid with different lyrics at different times. There's people singing the refrain and verses at the same times. There's just people bouncing off each other all the time, and I think that's the chemistry that not only the song brings, but also the characters bring. So that's why I love this opening number.
I feel like chemistry and the harmonies, I could see where you're coming from, but if those harmonies don't complement a good, memorable song, in my opinion, I do not see how an opening number like this could have fallen so flat. And I know, Alia, you probably disagree with me as well. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I do disagree with you. I think this is a really great opening number, and I love how it really introduces you to a lot of the different characters of the individual Newsies, because there's obviously, like, Christian Bale's the main character, but there's several other major characters of the kids that are the Newsies, and this song kind of introduces you to them and their personalities a little bit. And I think it's a really, like, fun, pretty quick pace. Like, it does throw it back and forth between a lot of the different characters. And a little bit of a funny story for the song. If you listen to it with your headphones on, you'll notice that some of the, especially towards the beginning when it's the individual people singing the different lines, some of them come out of one side and some come out of the other side. Like, it's not a, there's probably a word for that, which I don't know.
It's stereo. It's in stereo because
Yeah.
one vocal is on the left stereo track and the other vocal is on the right stereo track. That's an interesting mixing. Yeah, it's music stuff.
But so in high school, I had a car, an old car, and it didn't have really, it had like a radio, and that was it. So I went to the car place and got a new stereo with a CD player put in to the car, and like the next day or a couple days later, it seemed like it wasn't working out of one side, and I could tell because one of the speakers in the car wasn't working, and I could tell because I was listening to that soundtrack and I could only hear like half of the singing because it didn't play the parts that were like on the other side. So I took it in to the shop and they were like, oh yeah, I was like, it's not working. And they were like, came out like 2 minutes later and were like, yeah, the balance on your stereo was like turned all the way to one side. And I was like, well, didn't know that was a thing because I never had a fancy stereo in my car before. So that was just like a fun little bit of trivia about how Newsies affected my life and made me look like a huge idiot.
Well, the stereo mixing is very, very interesting. I feel like it still doesn't really the mix, the harmonies. I see what you guys are saying, but actually, fun fact: this, right, Robert? You probably know this better than I do. This isn't the actual opening to the stage show. What is the opening to the stage show?
Yeah, so besides just the overture music, the actual first song in the stage show is a prologue version of Santa Fe between Crutchy and Jack Kelly up on the rooftops of New York, and then it goes into Carrying the Banner. So that's definitely something different between the movie and the
That
stage
would
show.
have helped this a lot because I feel like having that extra motif from a song that when we get to is really noteworthy. Having that lead into this gives this song more purpose and might have been a little bit more memorable to me in the overall arc of things. But for me, This is the first time I'm doing this. Carrying the banner, the opening track of a musical, I'm giving a one-time listen. This one is not one of my favorites. Opening or otherwise. Rob, what do you give this one?
Yeah, so while I do really like this opening number, I think you're right when you say there's something that's a little bit something that's left to be desired. So I gave this a download the track. It's still really good, but I don't think it's as good as it might have been.
Alia?
I gave this a rockin'.
Oh, right. So look,
I really like this song. I mean, like, I really like this whole soundtrack, obviously, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, Leah, you just really like everything," and that's true. But, but this song, even though I really like most of the songs on this soundtrack, I would say this one is a little bit of extra. I really like this one.
This one, you're not going to get a lot of the same scores with this one. This episode in particular is going to be pretty interesting. Then we get
Start drinking now, people. Start drinking now.
Then we get into My Lovey-Dovey Baby.
Then you said doodly-doo. I miss the hanky-panky.
All right. You know what, Rob? Explain this song to me. Let me know what this song is even about, because I don't understand.
I mean, I will try. So basically, Jack Kelly and some other Newsies, some of the new Newsies, are running away from the people, that it's police officers. They're running away, and they go into this little club, and there's this lady named Miss Metalarkin, and she's singing. I can't say that word. It's the Midwestern accent. She is performing a musical number on the stage, and it is My Lovey-Dovey Baby, and that's what this song is, and it's just, it exists in the movie.
That's the perfect way to put it. It exists, and I don't know why. Alia, what do you think of My Lovey-Dovey Baby?
To be honest, I think it's pretty bad. This is like I don't want to give too much away so early on, but like this is like the one song on the soundtrack that I'm like, this is trash, and I don't like it at all.
It's the second song in the movie. This is somebody whose second song in the movie was Skid Row from, what's the second song in Little Mermaid? Under the Sea. They're going from Skid Row, Under the Sea to this.
Yes, it's not great.
No. It isn't great whatsoever. And there's not a lot to say to this because it's really just a short little segue. It really is. My Lovey-Dovey Baby, me, it's a burn it. I have never given something a burn it before. Oh wait, I did.
What?
I did. In Hairspray, I've given it a burn it.
Okay, I was gonna say.
I know.
An agreement in Hairspray.
Yeah, we burned a couple things in Hairspray.
Yeah.
It was a pretty lit episode. This is one of the few times I've ever done this, but I am giving it a burn it. Alia, do you burn this sucker, or what do you do with it?
I think I'm not gonna burn it.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty bad. I would say skip it.
Okay.
I always would recommend the first time you listen to a soundtrack, listen to everything. Like if you're watching this and you've never seen the Newsies and you've never listened to the soundtrack, like just listen to every song the first time and then, skip it after that. Because it is the one song. The reason I gave it a skip it is because it is the one song that I literally skip every time I listen to the soundtrack. I don't skip any of the other songs ever. I listen to everything except that song. I always skip. So.
And this is just proving that this episode is going to be a mess. Rob, what do you give it?
Alia literally took the words out of my mouth as far as, oh, you should listen to everything and it's all going to be wonderful. And if you haven't seen it before, you should listen to it still. But I'm also, I'm also giving this a skip it. I don't think it's bad enough. Like, I don't think the music is bad enough to give it, to warrant to burn it. But it's definitely one that when the soundtrack comes on, you definitely skip it without giving it a second thought.
Well, you know what? All three of us are kind of on the same page with this one. We are.
And that was the last time.
And we're at number 2, and that's it.
We might be on a little bit of the same page on this one as well. Santa Fe.
When I dream on my own, I'm alone, but I ain't lonely. For a dreamer, night's the only time of day.
Yeah, so Santa Fe is Jack Kelly, the main characters. It's his main song, and basically it's about him just wanting to get out of New York City. He's been stuck here his entire life. He's been an orphan almost all of his entire life, and it's basically just about him wanting to do something more with his life. So he always sees Santa Fe as an idyllic place where he's just going to go out west and work for a living and just make something of his life instead of just stay in New York and be a newsie. So that's basically what this song is. It's just his optimism about wanting to be something more than where he's stuck right now in his life.
Indeed, Rob. This is actually kind of like Whole New World, Part of Your World from Little Mermaid. Somebody urging and yawning to be somewhere that they want and the optimism that they show. It's a typical Menkenism. Menken does this a lot in a lot of his musicals. This one, again, he does it really well. I have to give him props for this one. This one is actually really well done because it fits his formula and actually sounds like a good Menken song. And I commend it for that. The problem is it's set up and why he's singing about it isn't as dignified as I wish it was or memorable to me, because I'm still struggling with this movie, and we'll get to it when we get to our final thoughts, what the actual plot of this movie is without finding like simple generic things to talk about. It's a very convoluted plot, and I think we can all agree to that a little bit. Even so, this song in particular does stand out and is a typical Menken song, and I do appreciate it for what it is. Alia, what do you think of Santa Fe?
I like this song a lot. I think, Christian Bale isn't really like the greatest singer ever or anything. So definitely going into it, if that's a thing that matters to you, then it might not be your favorite. But I don't really mind if people in movie versions of musicals aren't super good singers if they work for the musical or if they work for the movie, So, and he's not like terrible or anything.
He isn't.
But he's
No.
definitely not, a musical performer the same way. I think nowadays you tend to get maybe a little more casting of, people that can really sing well. Although maybe not, because like Mamma Mia, all the guys in that are pretty bad. I still really like it though. That's the point. Is like I like him in this movie, even though he's not, the best singer or anything.
Yeah.
And then also, the other thing I would just say is it's kind of hard not to draw some parallels between this movie and, or this song particularly, and Rent. Rent also has a song about moving to Santa Fe.
I was just about to say.
From New York, and so it's kind of a similar vibe there, which may or may not. I don't know if that really means anything. It's just when you listen to this song, if you're a fan of Rent, like there's some pretty clear parallels there.
Of course, except this one's not sung in a subway station. This one actually has. I do like this. I do like Christian Bale's voice. I mean, I can see why, and I it's not the best, but it does service the movie, and I don't feel like these songs really need good singing. I feel like a lot of these songs need the accents, need kind of like the voice and the character more than other things, and I think that's a detriment. I feel like a lot of Menken stuff, the vocals are what shines, and when you take that out, you really are listening to this movie, but you need the movie with it, and when you judge it solely based on the soundtrack, it detracts a little from that. And I feel like had the vocal arrangements, as you're talking about, been a little stronger, I feel like it wasn't Christian Bale. It was the way the vocals were arranged to have him sing with it. Because his voice, I feel like, services it. It doesn't boost it. It just services everything. And I feel like, again, had things changed with this song, it could have superseded what I'm giving it, which is a download. Download this song. I feel like it's strong. It's a great mechanism. Doesn't do much more than that though. And download is as good as it gets for me with this movie. Alia, what do you give it?
I give that a big face palm.
Oh God.
It's tough because I really like this movie and pretty much all the songs a lot. I think a lot of it is nostalgic based. You know, it's
Of
kind of hard
course.
sometimes to separate your feelings from like
Mm-hmm.
how objectively good things are, and I totally understand that. Um, and maybe you coming in, you know, watching this with or listening to this when you haven't been like a huge fan of it or listened to it a ton, have
100%.
like more of a fresh perspective, and maybe that's more accurate. I don't know. So for the sake of like trying to like objectively compare
Mm-hmm.
things and not just give everything a rockin', I'm gonna go ahead and give this a download too. I really like this song, but it maybe doesn't have quite the I don't know, razzle dazzle that some of the other songs in this movie
To
have.
quote
And
Chicago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give it the old razzle dazzle.
So yeah, I think I'll go with the download. Also, really quick, I just wanted to say the thing that you were saying about Mencken. It's interesting because this is the. I mean, besides the like "Lovey Dovey Baby" and like the club songs, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
Santa Fe's the only real song in this musical that is sort of a singular voice singing.
It is.
And most of Mencken's other, like Little Mermaid, most of those songs are, you know,
Ensemble.
just one or two characters. And
Yeah.
almost everything in this movie is like a big ensemble cast singing. So I don't know if that means like maybe Mencken doesn't do that as well, or if you just maybe you personally aren't as partial to that. It's just a thought.
I feel like you might be onto something, but then you look at, I'm gonna bring up Beauty and the Beast. You have Be Our Guest, which is an ensemble piece. You have Belle, which is an ensemble piece. Gaston is an ensemble piece, and Mob Song is an ensemble piece. And each of those songs really vocally are well arranged, maybe because I guess that was Howard Ashman too. I don't think Howard Ashman was involved in this, and this was after he passed away, I believe.
I
So
think that's correct.
it might be just Mencken's transitional phase. So
Yeah.
I have to listen to the Broadway musical because it probably improved a lot on what the movie is. And I am getting a nod from Rob. So yeah, if we ever do a Suddenly Soundtracks Redux and go through the Broadway version, we'll come back to that point because I think it's an interesting thing to analyze. Rob, what do you give this song?
So I also I think I'm gonna give this a download. The track, it's not as rocking as you were saying with the whole vocals. Christian Bale does a lot of talking and not a lot of singing, but it's still an entertaining song. The purpose of the song is there. The motifs of the song are there. It just doesn't quite reach what some of the other pieces in this musical do. So also download.
Bingo. Yeah. Again, we're all on the same page here. This one is going to be a little bit of divergence. So we get into the main ploy of the movie, which is the big higher-ups want to charge the Newsies more for their papers and take away from their income, which doesn't sit well with the Newsies, and they want to do a strike. All established through the world will know.
Now the world will hear what we've got to say. We can hawk in headlines, but we're making them today.
I think it's a good song where it is because it starts to express like what the Newsies are feeling. You know, the point of musicals, or the fun part about musicals, is that, you know, people's feelings get all like just, it's like as if you just were bursting with feelings about various things so much that you need to sing about it. And this is a really crappy situation for the Newsies. Like, they barely are scraping by as it is. They're just kids that live on the street, essentially. And for a rich old man to want to cheap them out of any extra pennies they might earn, I mean, that's pretty lame, to be honest. So I think that this is a good expression of sort of that, their frustration coming to a head, and just, you know, they just got to sing it out.
The thing is, these next trio of songs, this is kind of the first song that's basically the same thing as the next two songs, except this is the inferior version. And it gets really repetitive in this movie really quick, and I will explain it when we get to the next song. Rob, for The World Will Know, what are your thoughts on this entire situation that they're in and this song itself?
Yeah, so I mean the situation you guys have already explained it well. I mean, basically the rich Robert Duvall just wants to make more money and have them make less is basically how it works. He wants them to work harder. But I couldn't disagree with you more as far as repetitive, but we'll get to that. World Will Know, I think, is a fantastic song. I think this is where the director Kenny Ortega shines because he was initially a choreographer. And I think the choreography of this song, this obviously is soundtrack, not choreography, but just the throwaway, I think the choreography of this piece is really amazing. But I also love the sound. It's just they really talk about making a union. They talk about banding together. And while there are like great harmonies, this just amazing and overwhelming sound of this like group of guys, group of Newsies who just aren't gonna be walked over anymore. And I think that's the point. And I think the music really, really, really resembles that emotion, that frustration. So that's why I love this song.
Okay, I can totally see your point, but then when I get into the next song, I'm gonna wonder why this song even exists, and for that, I'm gonna give this. It's a very high one-time listen. It just almost made download, but I have to give it a one-time listen just because after going through the soundtrack, I don't see a point to this song, and there is a reason why. Rob, what do you give it?
Yeah, this is rocking for me.
Wow.
This
Okay.
this is definitely rocking for me. We'll Know, I think, is great. So
I'm
Chris and I
I'm
we're
destroying
off
every.
from here.
This is great. We're all in differing opinions. I'm wondering where Alia you stand.
Yeah, you knew what you were getting yourself into, Chris Clark. I also give this a rockin'. As I've said before on a previous episode of this show, I tend to give my ratings based on how fun the songs are to sing along with. Like that's definitely a factor for me in how much I enjoy a musical. And this one is just you just belting it out, you know? It's super fun to sing along with, so I give this one a rockin'.
I mean, I love this. This is probably one of the most diverse suddenly soundtracks ever, and this is getting really interesting. Had Tim Franco been able to make it, it would be Mario Party, and it'd be 1 verse 3 right now after the first round. It would be fun. This would be great. All right, guys, going into this one now. This is probably arguably the most popular song from the musical. I've heard this song many times. It's called "Seize the Day."
Neighbor to neighbor, father to son, one for all and all for
"Seize the Day" is essentially what the world will know is saying. Again, they're just building up to this strike that they're having, and the resentment that they feel. They want to seize. They want to be optimistic. They want to get through what they have to get through. And it does everything that the world will know does to the 10th degree, and it's so much better, and it overshadows that song both musically, and it sounds very anthematic. And it's one of, actually, I would put this up there with one of my favorite Minkin songs. It's actually a really, really good song. This and its reprise that we'll get to, it just makes the other song we just talked about completely obsolete, and it's repetitive. And its placement in the movie sucks, but judging from the soundtrack itself, it's amazing. Alia, do you disagree with what I just said?
No,
Okay.
I don't disagree with you in that I also really like this song.
Okay.
I do disagree with you in that I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like it is a similar theme, you know, like they're still sort of in the same, you know, vein of what they're
they didn't grow. They didn't grow between the songs, and it's just restating it. Yeah.
I mean, I think that World Will Know is like the first realization of the fact that they are like, we're not going to take it anymore, you know, and it's sort of like the starting to formulate like what is happening. Them, like Rob said, them like starting to come together and like banding together, and then Seize the Day is really like the strike song, you know. So it's sort of like the build up song, and you're right in that like the first one is like kind of a build up to this song, but I would argue that they have different meaning and different content. Because Seize the Day is really like, this is it, we're striking kind of a thing. And I feel like World Will Know is like, was important as a song in order for them to get to that point. So.
It's actually a very strong argument, and I probably will get lambasted for my thoughts on it, but I kind of still stick with it. Rob, I have two things. What do you think of Seize the Day? Do you think that it's repetitive, like I was saying, with the plot of the movie? And B and C, I'm actually curious about this. What is the difference between the stage version, because there has to be something they put between The World Will Know and Seize the Day in the stage version, I assume. That probably built this bridge up a little bit better than it is.
Yeah, you're definitely right on that. There is, if I'm thinking of the soundtrack right, there is a character in the stage show that's not even in the movie, which is Jack Kelly's love interest. And her character is a little bit different in the stage show, but she has a song.
She is in the movie.
She is a different character though in the stage show. She is David's brother in the movie, or sister in the movie, and she's a different character altogether in the stage show. She has a different relation to a different character, which is a twist that I don't want to spoil. But she does have her solo song, I believe, in between World War No and Seize the Day. So that does bridge it a little bit better in the stage show. As far as the movie, I think Alia hit it on the nose. As far as World War No is their immediate reaction to finding out that their prices were being raised, because you even have that shot of them erasing the whiteboard and like changing the headline in World War No. That's their instant response. Seize the Day is after they've gotten together and made a few decisions, and it starts out with Davey, who is just kind of the brains behind the operation. It starts with him actually leading the song, which is why that's part of the reason musically I love the song, is it starts out as a solo and then the group all joins in and then everybody is truly banded together.
I like that portion of it where everybody banded. I like the song itself, and I love what Davey brought to it. It's just, I didn't, from a blind watcher, I didn't understand what the difference was between that and the first song. And I think it still kind of holds true because a lot of the themes in this movie get a little bit redundant. The plot is convoluted and redundant at the same time a little bit, because you're just restating things over and over again. Through song, I get it, through different songs, but it's not coming across to me as well as probably you guys are. And it's just the subjectivity of film. So, yeah.
Of course, yeah. Which is also a fair point, so considering this and World War No take place in the exact same location.
Exactly. and the reprise too, which it's
all in the same little town square.
Listen, you gotta save money on set.
Exactly. No, I don't blame that at all. I'm just saying that might be part of the reason that it may seem repetitive.
Having two songs in the same location back to back is kind of jarring. I mean, there should have been something in between to kind of differentiate them, which you're saying a solo song was in the stage show. Something should have been in between these two songs to kind of visually make it stand out better. But to me, since it's just the soundtrack, it doesn't really come as repetitive on the soundtrack, because both songs are indeed totally different. I give this a very, 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 and it's my only, rockin', because this is one of my favorite Minkin songs I've ever heard on this show, sans Little Shop of Horrors. This stands up to that, and I do like it a lot. Rob, what do you give it?
Yeah, absolutely with you. Very high rockin'. This is a fantastic song. The way that just all of the musical pieces fit together, from just it starting out as a solo with just a little bit of instrumental to becoming just a marching song. It's just a fantastic song. Absolutely rocking.
Yeah, I had it originally, fun fact, as a download until 2 minutes ago when I thought it through, and I was like, you know what? I'm changing that. Go for it. Alia, what do you give it?
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely a rockin'. It definitely just builds, starts out, like Rob was saying, really just the one person, and it just builds to so much, such a big number, and super fun to sing along. Yeah, it's great.
And we get into then the reprise of Seize the Day.
Open the gates and seize the day. Don't be afraid and don't delay.
This song is reprised. It's basically the same song as the last song, but with a ton of harmonies. And it's very, it's called the chorale version, and it sounds like a gospel choir. And it sounds like the Let It Be version from Across the Universe. It really shines bright. It really does. Rob, what describe what this song is about and your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much summed it up.
Yeah.
It happens after Seize the Day. It happens after some more plot important things happen in the movie, as far as like more confrontation with the police and things like that that happened during the song of Seize the Day. But as far as like the song itself is beautiful musically. I think this is like a 6 or 7 part arrangement sung by an all male cast. And it is just fantastic. If you're just listening to the soundtrack, if you only have time for 1 or 2 songs, this is instantly one that I personally skip to just to listen to it musically, and it's just a feast for your ears to listen to.
Since I boosted up the first Seize the Day, I feel like that one is probably gonna be boosted up as well. Alia, what are your thoughts on Seize the Day?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys have pretty much covered it. It's a really great reprise of a song that it is different, you know? Sometimes, like, with reprises, it's like, okay, well, we just need to put some music in here because it's the end of or, you know, getting along and we need to fill with something, but we don't want to write a whole song, or, you know, whatever the reason is that you need to put a reprise. And sometimes they work in that they really tie things together, or they really do something interesting and different with the song. And sometimes it's just sort of filler. But this one, I think, really, with all of the chorale element and everything, I think does something interesting. And so it's definitely not just like a throwaway reprise.
It isn't a throwaway reprise, and usually when Megan would reprise something, it means something, and here it does indeed. Like Seize the Day, I'm giving this another rockin' just because it elevates the song again. A very good reprise indeed. Alia, what do you give it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough call. Sometimes with reprises, it's a little bit hard because they're not really a full song the same way. So, like, I would be inclined to give it a download just for that reason. But because this one is really strong, I think it's fair to give it a rockin'.
Yeah, this one has a really good arrangement. Rob, what do you give it?
Yeah, just for what it does musically. I mean, when you're judging it solely on its soundtrack, the music in this reprise, it may not be a 6-minute with a giant dance number or interlude, but the music and the vocal parts, it's just so good. So definitely rocking for me as well.
Something that's not rocking, and it's a controversial opinion, is this next song, King of New York.
Tip your hat, he's the king of New York.
How about that? I'm the king of New York.
Don't do this to me, Chris Clark.
All right, so look, guys, I have to break this to you. After the crew gets onto the front page with their strike and everything, and the scene that they've caused, they're in this coffee house and they celebrate themselves, and they have so much optimism for, we're going to win this thing. We're gonna become what we want to become and strive what we want to strive, is take over the city and be ourselves, and maybe afford a piece of bread that we can, and have some money in our pockets. It's a very optimistic song, and my gosh, the song sucks ass. It's terrible. Like, look, this song has the lyrics in the song are some of the weakest lyrics Mickens ever written. The song itself musically just is so jarring and convoluted and very unrhythmic. I feel like this song, I'm the king of New York, and the vocals and everything are all over the place. And I don't know what I'm listening to half the time. It just sounds like a wall of sound. And it isn't pleasant for me. It doesn't sound like a good Megan song. It sounds like a rough draft, a demo. It's something that he probably shouldn't have put on the screen, but he did. Maybe the arrangement on Broadway is better. I don't know, but I'm judging this by the soundtrack. and it's just a mess. It's a hot mess of a song and arrangement. And these two people disagree with me more than candy on wallpaper. Aaliyah, how wrong am I? Just let me know.
I mean, I can't. I don't. Listen, your opinion is your opinion, and technically opinions can't be wrong. But in this case, your opinion is wrong. I'm just kidding. You're allowed to have your opinion.
Oh, I'm fine with that.
I don't agree. I prefer to. I have a different opinion about this song, and it's that it is amazing, and I love it. As you could tell from my shirt story earlier, that the lyric that I chose for my shirt is from this song. So I love this song, and it's interesting. I think this song and the first one are the two songs that are the most have like a bunch of different parts where, I mean, a lot of the songs are an ensemble and that a lot of people are singing, but this song and the first song have a lot of the most like distinctive lines where you can tell different characters are singing it. And I apparently really love that because I like those two songs a lot. So, and I think this is a really fun song. It's super fun to sing along with. It is a good moment in the movie because they do have this like celebratory moment where it seems like things are going well, which you kind of need before, if you're gonna have, you know, sort of the third act disaster or conflict or whatever it is. You kind of need that major uplifting moment beforehand where it's like everything's fine and great, and then, you know, everything goes downhill after that. Yeah, and Denton is great. It's another situation where he's like not the best singer ever, but I love him. I love the man.
Bill Pullman actually does sound pretty decent in this song. One of the only things I'll give it that is anything upwards of a compliment. Robert Parker, I know you just unfriended me on Facebook. What are your thoughts?
No, not yet. We got a couple more songs to go here. But
we can turn it around.
Yeah, we're going downhill, but we can go back.
Oh, I hate to disappoint you guys.
No, I love King of New York. I think instrumentally it is probably my favorite song on the soundtrack.
Wow.
Music itself, because it's so catchy. It's the da 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 da. And the music is so good. The instrumental version of this song is really good. On the stage show, it's an awesome tap dance number, which like obviously
that would help. That would have helped a lot.
Awesome to see live. Bill Pullman actually has a surprisingly good voice, and I actually really like the way he sings this part. And I'm kind of with Alia. It gives more into the individual characters of the individual Newsies when you get them singing their own lines of what they would do with more money, what they would do with fame and fortune, what they want. It's a little bit interesting to compare between the stage show and the musical, but I won't do that. But yeah, I really like this song. I think it's incredibly catchy. Chris Clark hates it, which makes me a little sad. But it's gonna be okay.
I'll say this: there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6. We're halfway through the set list. This is my favorite song of this back half, and I don't like it at all. I do not like it at all. But I'm not gonna burn it. I'm going to give it a skip it. Skip this song. Skip it, skip it, skip it. It's nowhere near as bad as some of the next ones we are going to go through. All right, so this is where I'm gonna make a lot of people angry with how I feel about this soundtrack, but it is all these songs are borderline garbage, and I feel like these two people above me right now are not happy with me whatsoever. Nor the people who imagine if Aaliyah wasn't on this and she and Dan were watching this on a Sunday night. So much yelling. I can't wait for Dan to see this. I cannot wait for Dan to see this. Anyway, Rob, goodness gracious, what do you give it?
Calling it. I mean, this is, I think, going to be the biggest spread between any of our scores. This is a rockin' for me.
Oh my god!
Definitely. This is one of the most catchy songs in the entire show. This is one of the best character moments within the music itself. The singing is actually really on point. This is rockin' for me.
I'm not gonna ask Alia. I don't want to ask Alia.
Well, I give this song a made-up category that was invented for Hairspray, and it's called "Too Rockin' for Me," because this song is the best, and I love it.
Okay, you got a rockin', 2 rockin' for me, and a skip it. This is going to be. Oh, I should just send the screenshot into like the admin chat or something, and just see what happens. All right, guys, we are gonna go into of the two of the many reprises here. This is in the middle. It's a reprise of Santa Fe that we were just talking about earlier.
Santa Fe, my old friend, I can't spend my whole life hiding.
Santa Fe's reprise is kind of forgettable. It really is just there. Rob, I don't know. Do you agree with that assessment? It's just there. It kind of is one of the weaker reprises in the catalog of Minkin.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
This reprise is one of those ones that earlier we were talking about. They can add something new to the original, or they can just kind of be filler. This one felt a little bit like filler. While I do still enjoy this song, I do still love Santa Fe itself, like the music, the motifs, and things like that. I don't really like the way it's used in this movie, and I don't really like the song itself as a reprise. There's a similar reprise in the stage version, but it's nothing like this. I just don't really like this reprise in the context of the movie, and not just in the context of the movie. It's literally the same song but shorter and in a jail cell.
It's just, I feel like a reprise needs to mean something, and if you're not going to give any sort of payoff to your previous song with the reprise, why do it? Why have a song in the jail cell if it's not really going to pay anything off?
I think it is it's there. It's the same song again, a little bit shorter, and there's nothing particular about this one that makes it really stand out from the original or from the first version of the song. So it's not bad because I like Santa Fe, but it also isn't anything special, really.
Cool. Yeah, it's just, if you're not going to have a payoff to a reprise, then what's the point? It's pointless. This song gets a skip it from me just because of how pointless it is. This last part of the soundtrack is pretty much downhill from here. Rob, I know you don't disagree with I know you disagree with what I said, but what do you give it?
Yeah, I mean, I disagree as far as the rest of the soundtrack, but for this one, I gave this a one-time listen.
Okay.
I don't think that you just need to skip it, but I think listen to it, realize that it's the same version, reminisce to the first Santa Fe, remember how good that one was, and then continue to the next one. So it's a one-time listen for me.
100%. That's a good way to put it. Leah, go for it. What do you give it?
I'm gonna give this one a one-time listen in that I still listen to it every time because it's pretty short, and like the effort it takes to skip it, you might as well just listen to it if you like Santa Fe. But in terms of trying to sort of give you an idea of how the song compares, right, to the other songs, I think one-time listen is a fair. If you listen to this every now and then, or if you skipped it sometimes, I don't think it would really be a detriment to enjoying the overall soundtrack. So.
Cool. Yeah, I completely see where you both are coming from. We're on the same page. Now, I think we were all in agreement that My Lovey-Dovey Heart wasn't the best, and we get another similar song by the same woman called High Times, Hard Times, with actually the ensemble of the Newsies in this brothel.
High times, hard times, sometimes the living is sweet, and sometimes there's nothing to eat.
And it's one of the most forgettable, horrible songs in the entire film, and it's sung by the same character, and I just don't understand what the point of this song really is to the actual movie itself. I understand, Rob, this was cut from the stage show. Explain to me why this song was cut. Do you like this song, and what it's doing in the movie?
Yeah, so the songs are in the Broadway show are a little bit switched up in order, mainly due to just a few different characters being a little bit different. But there are at least 2 other awesome songs that happen at this point in the show, in the Broadway show, including Brooklyn's Here and Something to Believe In. 2 amazing songs that are replaced with High Times, Hard Times. This is, I mean, Chris, you hit it on the head. Utterly forgettable. It's just another 30 seconds of some drinking song and a close-up shot of Christian Bale looking creepy at the girl he likes. And that's essentially what this song is. It's just like a rowdy drinking song, but it's not memorable. It's not what you want out of a rowdy drinking song. So that's basically what Hard Times is.
I completely agree with you. Alia, are we wrong?
Actually, I disagree a little bit about the song. I don't disagree that like it's not really necessary to the plot of the movie. I'm not really sure what it's doing exactly. But I actually like it quite a bit. I really don't like her first song, but this one is actually pretty fun to sing along to. And so I enjoy it because of that. I think I understand how this would be a song that most people would probably be like, this is dumb and doesn't matter. But just coming from the place of like just singing along in your car when you're driving wherever, I think I like this song a decent amount.
Yeah, and I completely disagree with you, Alia. But you know what? That's the magic of subjectivity. Another person's trash is another person's treasure. And Alia found the treasure in our trash. I don't know how exotic that sounded, but it sounded good when I was thinking about it.
Like a little raccoon.
Little raccoon going through the trash. Yeah. This episode's a glorious mess. See, it's such a bad song it made me cough. Okay. So we're going to go right into Once and For All.
Did we score that one?
No, we didn't. We didn't, and I forgot to. My bad. Okay. Alia, what do you give this?
I'm actually going to give this one... I had one time listen, but honestly, like, I've always listened to it and sing along and have a good time. So I'm going to give it a download. Heck yeah. Why not?
Wow. I'm burning the motherfucker. I'm burning it. Like, it's going down. It's going down in flames. Rob, what do you give it?
This is a skip it for me. Just skip this song and go listen to Brooklyn's Theater from the Stage show. You won't be disappointed.
Good call. I'll listen to that after the episode. Now, guys, we're going to go right into Once and For All.
Once and for all, every kid is a friend, every friend
Yeah, so Once and For All, as far as its placement in the movie, this is where they're really... they're trying to end the strike. They're trying to just shove it in the face of old man Pulitzer. They use his printing press in his basement to print their own newspaper to spread the word about the strike. And this song is what happens while they're printing the newspaper, while they're writing it, while they're making it, using the printing press, while they're distributing it to all of the young newsies of the city. As for the song itself, I think it's really catchy. I think it's... musically, I enjoy it. I mean, it's not as like rousing as a Seize the Day or as a Santa Fe or something like that, but it still serves its purpose musically. I mean, you don't necessarily need just another big march song. This one's a little bit more contained, a little bit more laid back musically, so I appreciate it for being a little bit more of a different song on the soundtrack.
It is laid back, and musically, I can see where you're coming from. But at this point in the musical, to me, I had like almost back-to-back kind of like disappointments. I had the repress of Santa Fe, and I had the Hard Times song. Then I get this.
It was a hard time for you to listen to that song?
Yeah, you could. Look. This song coming from that, and then coming into the underwhelming finale, which we're gonna get to, makes this song really, really flat to me musically. It's really, really flat musically for me. And it just I can see the context of it in the movie, and it works fine. As a movie, as a song itself, this is pretty much the penultimate song before the finale stuff happens, and you don't really get that feeling. And I feel like a lot of these songs kind of needed that oomph and energy. This song does have a lot of good vocals. It has a lot of good atmosphere to it. There's a lot there with the potential, but the actual song itself leaves a lot to be desired for me. Alia, how much do you disagree with me on my assessment?
I disagree with you. I
Mhm.
really like this song. I think it's like sneakily great. Like you don't. First of all, in a lot of musicals, there isn't. You maybe wouldn't necessarily expect a full original song that's not somehow based on a reprise this close to the end of the movie. That's not like the finale. And I think it kind of sneaks up on you. Like even when I listened to it again, getting ready for the show, I was just like, oh yeah, like you kind of forget about that song, but it's actually really good. And I think it's a powerful song in that it's them taking action and making this happen to be able to realize their goal and everything. And it's I think it catches you by surprise a little bit in that you don't really expect it to be there and you don't expect it to be as good as it is. But I think it's pretty great.
Well, I would have hoped that it wouldn't have been another reprise because the movie ends with 2 reprises. Had it done that, it probably would have been an even bigger detriment. Had it been like 3 reprises in a row to the finale, and plus you had Santa Fe too. So I would say that this is probably one of the stronger songs in the second half. Um, I, I do think it does have its issues though, and the issues I don't see myself coming back to this song as much as you guys do. The lyrics have not stood out to me, and this is somebody who's listened to the soundtrack twice. Against people who have grown up and have much more passion for this soundtrack than I do, which is the whole point of this show, is to have people who love these soundtracks to show me up, because again, some of these stuff I'm going into blind, and just subjectively this song did nothing for me, and it gets a one-time listen. And I know these two wonderful people have completely differing ratings. Alia, what do you give it?
I gave this one a rockin'.
Oh God, there's differing opinions, and there's the complete opposite. Yeah.
Partly because of what I said before, where like you're right, it's maybe not the most memorable later on when you're not, it maybe isn't stuck in your head the most out of all the songs, but almost because of that, when I listen to it, I'm like, oh yeah, this song's really good. So
I totally see that.
I'm gonna give it a rockin'.
I'm gonna be interested when we come back to the Broadway version how my opinions differ. Rob, what do you give this sucker?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the Broadway versions, this is one of the best songs in the entire Broadway show, so you'll look forward to that one. But this was a download the track for me, so I'm kind of in between you two. I do like this song. I do like how it does kind of surprise you, but at the same time, it's not exactly what you're looking for towards the end and of the soundtrack. So this is a download the track for me.
And we're getting into the home stretch, the final 2 songs, which are both reprises. So the movie ends on a high note. It really, really does. And you get a glorious reprise of The World Will Know. A song that, as you guys all know, I loved. The reprise does nothing for me, as did the original version of the track. And I'm gonna let the people who love this song take it away. Rob, what are your thoughts on the reprise of The World Will Know?
I really like the reprise of The World Will Know. I like it quite a bit. I like this reprise a lot. This is probably my favorite reprise of the show. I think musically it changes just enough from the original to make it new and interesting to your ears, but close enough to the original version to still remind you and bring those themes and motifs back to you. From a musical standpoint, I think this is really, really good. From the singing, I think this is arguably one of the best performed songs on the soundtrack, except for maybe Seize the Day Chorale. I think this is one of the best performed. I really like this.
Okay, cool. I'm actually gonna do that. Could you actually explain the context of the song as well? I'll cut that in because you can explain it better than I can.
Yeah. So this is this Okay.
This is the reprise of
Yeah.
the What We'll Know.
No. So this is after they like storm into Pulitzer's office.
Yes.
Okay.
The storming.
Or like no, this is out when they're outside.
They're outside before the storming thing. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, because they're waiting and it seems like nobody's
The
coming.
next reprise is after it with Teddy Roosevelt coming on the carriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Because this isn't in the stage show, and I know that way better than the movie. All right. Yeah, I can explain. So, as far as where this takes place in the movie, this is where all the Newsies, after they had all distributed their paper from the World Will Know, they're all kind of waiting outside in that square where all of the other songs have happened already, and they're just kind of waiting to see how many other people will join them, how many other Newsies, how much do their paper distribute, are they going to get other people on their side in this fight? And I believe, if I'm correct, this song is actually started by like the really, really young kid, Davy's brother, and it starts with his solo, which I think is just awesome because I also really like how Davy started Seize the Day, and now his brother Les starts What We'll Know reprise, and then suddenly there's just a huge swarm of Newsies that come around the corner, all singing this song. So I think it's one of the best ensemble pieces, and that's just kind of its placement in the movie. They're now about to go knock down Pulitzer's door and get justification.
It's a highly, highly energized version, and it's a better version of the one that I didn't like, but it doesn't mean I like it at all. So that's not here nor there. Alia, go for it. What do you think of the reprise?
This is my favorite reprise in the movie, and listen, the part where they think nobody's coming, and then the like swelling of the voices singing, and they're like, when you have a million voices singing, who can hear a lousy whistle blow? I get teary-eyed literally every time I listen to this soundtrack, and I know it's coming, and I've listened to it a million times, and still that part I'm just like, oh, they're coming, it's gonna be okay. So I like it.
Bada bing, bada boom. I'm gonna give this, it's a high one because the other one was a pretty low one. I'm gonna give it a high one-time listen. A very high one-time listen. It almost gets to download the track, but I can't. I like the original. I dislike the original so much that it wouldn't make sense. Alia, what do you give it?
I gotta give this a rockin'. Even though it's just a reprise and it's pretty short, what it does for the movie and what it does to my heart means that it gets a rockin'.
Rob, go for it.
Yeah, this is also a rockin' for me.
Man.
Yeah, like Alia was saying, the way the music works, the way it just swells up, and not only are the Newsies' dreams swelling up, but your heart swelling up listening to this music. It's so good. This is definitely rockin'.
All right, guys. Then we get into the finale piece, which is the reprise of the opening number, Carrying the Banner.
Boy, ain't nature fascinating when you've got a war.
And oh my God, it didn't improve at all. It's the same piece of crap closing as the same piece of crap opening. It basically, everything is happy. It's all happy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy, in the town of Newsies. And after the guy goes to prison, and Jack meets with Teddy Roosevelt, everything seems to be good. It seems to be, it's a happy ending, and it's a very uplifting version of the opening, where they were kind of working to get the money. Here, it's all kind of paying off. I will admit it's better than the opening, but not by much. And the thing is, when I judge a movie solely based on the soundtrack that it provides, the opening and the closing should be rockin' for it to be a successful musical. A successful soundtrack has a perfect opening and a perfect closing because you want to capture the audience and you want to leave them with something good. For me, I wasn't captured, and for me, I left with a bad taste in my mouth. And this song did that to the 10th degree, and I'm not really happy about it. I don't really like it doesn't feel like a Minkin finale to me. It didn't feel like a Minkin opening, and it sure as hell doesn't feel like a Minkin finale. Alia, give it to me. I know.
I mean, of course, I like it, but because I really liked the opening song a lot. But I mean, it is just a reprise of the opening song, and maybe
Yeah.
it's a little more grand in a way because it's the finale song, but I don't like it as much as the opening. But I still like it.
Okay, so it's still kind of opposite of me. And they also do a curtain call over the credits, which is kind of cute, I guess. The whole choreography in this movie is weird. It really is. Rob, how wrong am I?
I'm kind of in the same boat with Aaliyah. I don't actually think it improves on the opening. I mean, it's pretty much the exact same song without the cool solos at the beginning and without the cool, like, non-interlude. But it's at the end and in the big square where all the other songs take place. So
Yeah.
I don't think it improves that much on the original. That being said, I do still think it's really catchy, and I do still think the music is good. I just don't think it's as good as the original. And for somebody who liked the original, don't think it's one of the best in the show, I don't think this is one of the best in the show either.
Oh, yeah. The constant use of that square got really redundant and made this not feel like a Disney movie, but a Disney Channel original movie. And it had little hints of that.
Don't knock Disney Channel original movies. They're great.
Oh,
something to say against Lemonade Mouth?
Well, look.
Musical is great.
High School Musical had more set pieces than this piece of crap. Alia, what do you give it?
I'm gonna give it. I think I'm gonna give it a download.
Okay.
I'm just flying by the seat of my pants here. I didn't even make any notes. I'm so professional. But I do really like the song, but I really like the first original version of it, the opening number, and this is that song, but just not as much. So I still like it and I still listen to it, but in comparison to the opening number, I like this one a little bit less. So I'm gonna give it a download.
Bada bing, bada boom. Rob, what do you give it?
Aaliyah keeps stealing my rankings. Also a download for this one, for the reasons that I already said, and the reasons Aaliyah just wrapped up perfectly.
Well, the first one was a one-time listen, and it is an opening number for a one-time listen that's terrible. I prefer this one to the opening number. I feel like a lot of as you were talking about the interludes with the nuns and stuff, drag that out a little bit too much. It cutting it down and making it streamlined, I feel like actually improved it a bit. So it is a high one-time listen. I'm actually close to you guys with download, but it's one-time listen, a high one-time listen, and I have no regrets giving it that.
Overall, we recommend you download the Newsies soundtrack.
Now we're gonna go into a new portion of the show. We're not gonna go through all 12 songs, each of us ranking them from worst to best, because that gets monotonous. And editing these shows and watching them go through and you listing all 12 out, that's 12 times 3. That's what? 46 songs that we list out, and it gets monotonous. 36. You see, this is why I'm a filmmaker, not a mathematician. So instead of that, we are going to be doing this new section of the show called Best. Oh, I forgot what this section of the show was called. Okay, this new this new section of the show, Super Awesome Sunshine. No, this new section of the show, Top 3, Bottom 3. Don't say any innuendos. I might change that actually. Now that I think of it, 1 second.
No, leave it.
No,
leave it.
It wouldn't be a Chris Clark episode.
Leave it, please, Chris.
If there wasn't
Please leave it.
That's like half the fun.
What do you? Sorry. I need to change the name. 3, 2, 1. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay, Rob. What are your top 3 and your bottom 3? Give me your bottom first.
All right. So my bottom 3, I think the lowest one is My Lovey-Dovey Baby, and then High Times, Hard Times, and then the reprise of Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Those are my bottom 3.
Cool. What are your top 3?
And my top 3, I think, in third, I have Seize the Day. Or sorry, I spoiled. In third, I have King of New York. Second, The World Will Know. And first, Seize the Day.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Alia, top 3, bottom 3. Give me your bottom first.
Okay, so obviously Lovey Dovey Baby is everybody's bottom. That song is clearly the worst. Um, and then I think the Santa Fe reprise is after that for me. It's not bad. At this point, we're just getting into like, small amounts of difference. And then actually the finale, the Carrying the Banner reprise, um, just doesn't have enough extra new things to make it to bring it up above the other songs.
And what are your top?
My top, so my third to top is Once and For All. Yeah, I know that's a big surprise to everybody.
No.
And then my next after that is Carrying the Banner.
Oh,
And then
no.
my top is obviously Kings of New York.
Alright, guys. My bottom three are as follows. My bottom of the barrel is Hard Times, is the Hard Times song. Did not like that at all. That got burned. And My Lovey Dovey Heart got burned as well. My Lovey Dovey Baby, that song is a piece of garbage in my opinion. And guess what my top...
You like Lovey Dovey Baby better than High Times, Hard Times?
And they're both pieces of garbage, and they're terrible. And I would like to burn them with a giant, what do you call that thing? A Molotov cocktail or whatever it is.
A giant one, not a little, not a handheld one. No, we're talking giant.
Just a giant
one,
flamethrower. And then, last but not least is, sorry, Alia, Kings of New York. That song is terrible in my opinion, and it's a song that is probably the most divisive song here ever on Suddenly Soundtracks. It really, really was. We haven't had something that divisive since Nightmare Before Christmas, and me and Late to the Party were all in agreement. It was us and the audience and this person right here, Miss Alia and Dan, where it was really divisive. So yeah, I wish I had them on that episode to have another... this episode has just been interesting, guys. I'm so glad Alia's on this because she wouldn't have a TV. All right, and then my top three are at number 3 I have Santa Fe. At number 2 I have Seize the Day, and at number 1 I have the reprise of Seize the Day, which I really love the vocalizations in that song, and I feel like this song in particular is one of my favorite Megan songs in a movie with a lot of some of the worst Megan songs I have ever heard. Alright guys, so that has been Newsies from 1992. One of probably my least favorite soundtracks I've reviewed on this channel, but I'm super grateful I did watch it and listen to it, and I'm grateful for my two guests, Robert and Alia. Let's get into closing thoughts. Alia, what are your final thoughts on Newsies?
Well, I mean, I basically have said it all already. I love this musical and I love this soundtrack and this movie. I don't think I mentioned this yet, but I have not actually seen it on stage that I can remember. But so I don't have the stage version to compare it to, so I'm just going off of the movie. But for me, super nostalgic. I love the music. I love the characters. I love to sing along super loud in my car. I just love it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And the biggest Newsy lover on the panel, Robert Parker, what are your final thoughts on this film compared to, let's say, the Broadway show?
Yeah, I mean, the Broadway show is definitely different, a little bit in the story, but a lot in the music. I've been blessed with the opportunity to see the stage show a few times, so I do really like that. But the movie is just as near and dear to my heart as the stage show is, and I still love the music just as much. So definitely, this is definitely one that I've been glad and very grateful to be on for.
Yeah, Newsies is probably, as I was saying, one of the most lukewarm things I've done on this show, probably the most. I mean, it has a great Minkin song on it, but a lot of the other things to me just do not stand the test of Minkin. And being as my favorite musical is written by Minkin, I compare it to that a lot because he wrote these songs, and a lot of them do not sit well with me whatsoever. So I do appreciate, Rob, that you suggested this movie and this song list, and I feel like it wasn't a waste of time, and it just shows how divergent these episodes are, because not everything we're gonna love, and I didn't love this one. And it's just how subjective soundtracks and music and movies are. We will be doing in the future at some point Newsies, the Broadway version, when we do a redux of this, when I go through a redux series much later on. So guys, without further ado, Aaliyah, where can the good people find you online?
Well, they can find me in lots of places. If you want to follow me personally on Twitter, it's at YOAWLA. And I've never said this before because this Twitter handle is super old, but I used to have a blog, and it was called Your Opinions Are Wrong. So I thought that was a little fun fact for Chris Clark this time. Bad opinion. No.
Fun fact.
The point was that it's a joke because you can't have wrong opinions because they're your opinions and you get to have whatever opinions you want. So that's what YOAWLA stands for. It stands for Your Opinions Are Wrong. Love, Aaliyah. And I just never changed it because I'm lazy.
That's amazing.
And then you can also find me on at All the Belts Pod on Twitter. If you listen to the Schmodown or watch the Schmodown and listen to our podcast, and then at Nerd Build Pod on Instagram.
Beautiful. Robert Meyer Burnett. You're not Robert Meyer Burnett. You're.
That's never happened.
He is Robert. All right.
I am sorry, guys. 3, 2, 1. Robert Parker. Where can the good people find you online?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at RBRTPRKR98. It's my first and last name, no vowels plus a year. Other than that, you can check me out on the various Take 3 things that I appear on, specifically the Schmodown Reactions. So that's something that I love to do when I'm able to. And other than that, make sure you guys honestly do check out the All the Belts podcast because they do amazing work as well. And I really want to just highlight that to make sure you check them out.
Yeah, All the Belts is amazing. Make sure to check them out. They are on video. They are on YouTube. Support them. They're amazing people. Love Aaliyah and Dan to death. You can find me everywhere on Twitter and Instagram at ChrisClark8788. Those numbers mean nothing. You can find me every Wednesday hosting this glorious show, Suddenly Soundtracks. Or you can find me every Saturday producing and editing and sometimes chiming in on the Schmodown Rundown SK Plus, the official after show of the movie Trivia Schmodown. So anyway, guys, from Aaliyah, from Robert, I'm Chris. Keep rocking.